All right, finally, this kit is done. So on our website, we're gonna have 5 different fuel type connections to the Predator 5000. So what are they? We'll go through it real quick. We got first solely natural gas here. So I just got this connected here, and this is just, here's the natural gas setup. Okay, this is the natural gas and propane setup. We have the RV connect here. This just shows what you get in the kit. We have the 2 propane tank connection and the 3 propane tank connection. All right, starting off with the natural gas only kit. So I know that this is a dual fuel setup. This Predator 5000 is dual fuel setup. I get questions and folks asking me, hey, how can I set this up for natural gas? Well, here's the kit for natural gas here. So you get this feeler gauge here, which adjusts the load block. I call this a high idle adjustment here. So it just kind of goes in like this on here. I'll show you in a little greater detail once we get further in the video. So, and also not only that, you get this feeler gauge with, there's 2 sets of Allen wrenches on here. So if you lose one, you have another, right? We got spark plugs, NGK spark plugs. You replace the factory spark plug with a better quality NGK plug. We have the natural gas quick connect. Okay, so this right here goes here. So just ignore this. This is a 1 1/4 inch quick connect. That's overkill for the Predator 5000. You don't need that big. 3/8 would do it. So you just have it set up like this. So just imagine this isn't here and that goes there instead. Okay, then you take this hose right here and it connects into there. Okay, that's how you set up for natural gas. When you do get the kit, I know it says LP on here, but if you select the natural gas, this is going to be set up for your natural gas. If you want to run propane, there is this feeler gauge. These are our measurements here, and this measurement on here allows the screw to be measured in and out. Okay. So what I mean by that is these are predetermined measurements. So this is right now it's set at 18.75 millimeters from this housing to here. So you back out the screw, you're going to richen the mixture. If you back in the screw, you're going to lean out the mixture. All right. It may not look like there's any difference on here, but it's in millimeters, which is, you can't really see that by eye. But trust me, these are all predetermined adjustments for you. You don't have to worry about any guesswork on finding out, okay, am I adjusting the fuel correctly? No, I do that here all for you. So this is the LP side, so propane side, and this is the natural gas side. Okay, so if you want to switch over to natural gas, you just use this here. So at level 1 adjustment, this is for sea level adjustment. So number 2 is if you're 2,500 feet above sea level. 3 is if you're 5,000 feet above sea level, and 4 is if you're above that. So these are all altitude adjustable, and fuel and also adjustments for different types of fuel. So propane and natural gas is all right here. Okay, so on this end, this quick connect end goes to the generator. Okay, so that's the kit for just solely natural gas. This is the bare minimum kit. You know, folks tell me I can use my regulator, factory regulator, propane regulator from the kit itself, but I want to run on propane. You can do that right here. Okay, I just went back in the shop to grab this propane regulator assembly for the Harbor Freight 5000. So this is what I mean by just when folks just only need natural gas is because they already have this to run on propane. They just need the natural gas portion. So this is to run on natural gas. If you want to run on propane, you can use your old factory regulator. There's reasons why I don't like this, and there's reasons why you have to make your own kit to run natural gas, and reasons why you can't just use this is because, like I mentioned in other videos, all of this, if you can see that little red glue on there, that's red thread lock. As soon as you take this out, you're going to strip all those fittings. You're going to strip all the threads in this side or that side. They're also thread locked on here as well too. You can't tear this thing apart. If you tear this thing apart, you're going to damage it. So Harbor Freight really made this difficult, and they really made it to the point where you can't use this whole assembly for anything else other than what they intended to sell you on running, which is just propane. Okay, they don't want you modifying this thing, is what I'm trying to say. Whereas this, you can run it on natural gas, you can set it up for propane, but whatever. But if you want to run, you're just worrying about natural gas, here it is. If you want to run propane, you can just use the factory unit, I don't care, whatever, okay? So, here's, just go ahead and grab the feeler gauge, and this is what I was speaking about earlier. So, this is how you measure. So see how that is like that? All right, so this housing butts up against the feeler gauge. That screw butts up against this middle portion here. That's how you do the measurements. All right, and for natural gas, you flip it over and you adjust it for natural gas. You see how far out that screw is. So if you want to run natural gas, you just got to back that screw out right up against this feeler gauge here, and then you're already properly set up for natural gas. If you just buy this kit for natural gas, I already set that up for you, and you don't have to worry about it, okay? Because it's going to be written right on the side of that fitting right here, okay? So, why I don't like this? There's multiple reasons why I don't like this, okay? One, it does not have a prime button, and what's nice about the prime button is that, see, this one has this prime button here and that one doesn't. So let's say that your generator is having a hard time starting. You're going to sit there and crank and crank and crank, and fuel is not getting into the generator. You're going to spend quite a bit there trying to get this thing to crank over. When is it going to happen? Mostly if you're out in the cold, right? When you hit that prime button, you're throwing a little bit more fuel into the engine, and it starts up a lot quicker than this. Over time, I've had customers tell me, not on this particular regulator assembly, but other dual fuel generators with their own regulator assembly. I had several customers tell me, hey, can you make me a replacement assembly, because I'm just sitting there cranking and cranking this engine or pull starting it so many times, I'm getting tired of using the propane, so I'm just running on gasoline. Now, can you build me a replacement unit because I like the fact that there's this prime button that can just throw fuel in the generator and it starts up a lot quicker. All right, so having this prime button is really nice because, like I said, it allows the generator to start up much quicker. Yeah, I'm not sure why they could have just added one on there, but I think for cost reasons they just didn't include it. Okay. Second reason why I don't like this factory regulator assembly is that there's no fuel adjustments like on mine, so you can't do any fuel adjustments on here. If you're 5,000 feet above sea level and your generator is running rough, you're kind of out of luck, because there is no fuel adjustments on here, and it's capped off here too. So I tried picking at this and I knew that was going to break it. So if you start messing with this, there goes your warranty. Whereas this, there's fuel adjustments here and here. Okay, so you got the prime button here, you got fuel adjustments here, and it's not thread locked. You can tear this apart and build this however you like. This is how I had mine set up. You don't have to do anything further, but there I get folks where they just want to mount their kit into a generator box or mount their kit on their own wall. They have their own setup. You can tear this apart and do what you like. Whereas this, you can't do anything because it's all thread locked. So that's the third reason why I don't prefer this. And this thing fails. So it's all made in China. This regulator, this pressure regulator here is kind of questionable. Okay, because it says, CSA certified, but there's no number underneath it for me to verify verify this online on their website. Whereas this has that number somewhere here. I have a spec sheet for this, but this is a really good quality pressure regulator. This is the same company that Mr. Heater and Charborough uses. This is just a regular unknown brand, Ningbo from China, and these also fail. I've sold this particular brand with this kit for about 4 or 5 years now. Very, very, very rarely do I have issues with this. I would say 99% of the time these things work very well, and I never had a customer call me back for a replacement. These, like I said, I had several customers tell me to build a custom regulator assembly for them to replace this factory unit. So I wouldn't trust this too much. Can you still use it? It's gonna hurt. Is it gonna hurt? No. But if I'm out in the middle of camping or I'm in the middle of an emergency situation, the last thing I want is this to fail. It just gets to be a lot of a headache when you're spending good money on a generator and the next thing you know, you got a failed part and you got to fix it. That's a huge headache I don't want to deal with. So I'd rather buy good components, know that everything works when I need it. All right. So first, I know it's long. I apologize. I just want to get the details and get that out of the way because I know folks are going to question me to hell. So I might as well just get that over with. So yeah, there's the first selection on my website. Natural gas only, natural gas setup. This is just the bare minimum. This right here, this whole kit right here. So this is the natural gas and propane connection type. So not only can you run natural gas, I also throw in the propane pressure regulator on a quick connect. So that way, not only are you connected to, this is the propane tank, you're connected to the propane tank, you can also connect it to natural gas. So this is natural gas, and if you want to run on propane, you can go ahead. I can't do this one hand, but, and you can, you know, you get the idea. You can run on propane. So this is what this this part is for. So not only that, not only you get this assembly, there's also some other pieces and parts into this propane and natural gas kit right here. So you also get spark plugs. You get this nice Velcro strap right here, so you can. So once you wound up the hose on here, you just put the strap over it, and that way the hose is not dangling around as you're putting away for storage. So I use it on my stuff. I figure, you know what, just throw it in here. You guys will really appreciate it. If I threw that in there, you can have the hose get tucked nicely when you're not using it anymore. So this is the propane. This is for natural gas. All right, that goes there. Okay. You get this storage bag for this regulator assembly. You also get the feeler gauge with Allen wrench, and this right here. All right. This also is all included with the natural gas kit, but this right here is pretty important. So, unfortunately, I know I made my there's a video that I made about a couple weeks ago that I was able to use a factory quick connect and with another aftermarket quick connect, go ahead and connect it, use a quick connect on here, and was able to do so. Unfortunately, when I got this MB Sturgis brand and other brand, I believe the 1/4 inch quick connect is almost proprietary, because if you look here, all right, see how much shorter that is? Nope, I'm trying to get this line up. So here is the Harbor Freight, and here is the MB Sturgis. So this is an MB Sturgis high quality quick connect. So this won't plug into that. It's too short. So the reason why you need it longer is because inside here, it pushes up against that button on the inside. If it's not long enough, it will not allow gas to flow. And before I looked for MB Sturgis, looked at other brands and so forth, this is specific to the Harbor Freight. I'm starting to think that Harbor Freight intentionally put this on here so that way you can't run this generator or anything else other than its own regulator assembly. Because if you plug this in there and this is not long enough, fuel is not going to come out from here into the generator. You almost have to replace it with this to get it to work on this. So it's such a pain in the butt that these companies don't want you running on anything else other than their own equipment. So if you want to run on your equipment, you got to basically modify everything. Well, for this, in this case, you don't. But I made it a lot simpler for you because I provide all the pieces and parts. So on here, what I did was I had to remove this whole panel, and behind here there's like this aluminum manifold. I was able to unscrew that. So unscrew this. This had thread lock on there, but the threads are so shallow on here that I was easily able to remove it without any issues. And it was only tightened on for a couple threads, so I was able to take that out. and replace this with this, so that way I can use this. Nope, I gotta lock the wheel here. Nope. There you go. It's this. So with the screw provided, I mean the quick connect provided, replacement quick connect, then everything works. I wish it was a lot simpler, but this proved to be difficult, a lot more difficult than I anticipated, but that's okay because I'm able to get everything to work just fine. So before we get a little bit further on explaining the rest of the hose connect kit, this is how the bracket mounts onto the generator. Okay, so this portion right here, I just set it on the wheel like that, and the reason why I had that bracket set up on there so that way it doesn't move. All right, it's not going to go anywhere. That weight of the generator is going to hold this bracket in place. All right, so the bracket's made from the thick heavy steel. It has some good weight to it, so it's not made from cheap steel. It's also powder coated, so it's weather resistant powder coat, fade resistant, so it's very durable powder coat. Okay, so closer look at the bracket here, and this is what it looks like. And there's two ways to use this bracket. Okay, you can have it stand upright by itself like this, or you can mount it onto the foot of the generator like this and not having to worry about it tipping over. It's not going to move. All right, and there's a reason why I have it standing upright, because it says mount up, and this is the whole reason for this bracket. Okay, and the bottom there is solid rubber feet on here. Okay, and like I mentioned, if you don't want it mounted like that, just take it off the generator, move it forward like this, and you can have it stand upright like that. Okay, it doesn't matter, however you like. All right, just for out of curiosity, I'm gonna start up this generator. So I'm gonna open up this tank. All right, turn on the switch here. Make sure it's in propane. Eco switch is off. Hit it twice. Yeah, it starts up great. See if the idle's down. That's super smooth. You can shut it off. Just turn the tank bottle off. And don't forget to turn off the switch, or else you'll drain the battery. Sorry if I'm moving the camera on a lot. I don't have a fancy camera set up. I'm just doing this as budget friendly as I can, and I want to get to the point. So if you're getting a little dizzy watching this video, I apologize. I'm just kind of moving around just to kind of get stuff going here. Okay. So if you have any further questions, just leave comments in the comment section, or just email me. All right. So we're going to move on to the next field connect. All right, on to the third field connection type that's offered on our website here is the RV Connect. Okay, so what I mean by that is, if you have two propane tanks at the tongue of your travel trailer, and you want to use the propane tanks off that travel trailer, here's the parts and pieces that's required to do so. So not only here you get the regular assembly of the kit and everything else, this is what you'll receive in addition to that. So you have the quick connect, you have the T, and you have this adapter here. So it's a female to female adapter. So typically what happens is that if you see this auto changeover, if you see anything else, you might have to email me. Then I have to look at your setup, and I have to send out fittings accordingly to what you have set up. But for the rest of folks that see a auto changeover at the tongue of the travel trailer with two propane tanks on here, 90% of the time, this fitting on the bottom here is going to be 3/8. Okay, and this is what I provide. So right here, just imagine with me that this hose goes into the travel trailer or towards the back of the trailer. All right, so this hose would typically be plumbed directly on the bottom of this auto changeover. So with that T, you're splitting the fuel. Okay, So I have it mounted this way. You can mount it whichever you like, whether it's like this or like this, but I have it mounted like this is because if the hose is pointed down, that hose is gonna have to bend around, and over time that hose is gonna start to crack or kink. So it's a lot easier for the hose to have a lot less stress if it's just pointing towards the back like that. And not only that, you have better access to the port here, right next to the propane tank. So this is how I recommend doing so. And you can see how it's screwed on. So this goes to the back of the RV, it goes to the RV, your travel trailer, and this right here will go to your regulator assembly and then to the generator. Okay, so this is how I have it set up. So like I mentioned, if you don't see this and your system is set up differently, just email me and send me some photos of your setup. Then I'm gonna have to send you fittings according to what you have set up. But for the rest of the folks, this is typically what they're gonna have. I know another question is, well, I have a barbecue port or a gas port in the back of the trailer already. Can I use that? No, you can't. Why? Is because that quick connect in the back of the trailer is too small, so it's going to cause a fuel restriction for the generator. When it causes a fuel restriction, what's going to happen is that you're going to have reduced performance output on the generator. It's just a restriction of fuel flow. You're not going to get much out of the generator. If you mount on the front here and have the fitting be of size, then the generator can adequately produce power without having any kind of issues such as fuel restriction. That barbecue port in the back is only good enough for smaller generators, all right? Those portable generators, like the 1,600 watt generators, the 2,000 watt generators, all the way up to the 2,200 watt generators, those things have smaller engines, so it's okay to use that barbecue port in the back of the RV. But for a generator that's this big, you can't do that, right? It's too big of an engine, and it's too much of a restriction on that the outlet in the back of the RV. So you're gonna have to tap into it right at the propane tanks, all right? So, but yeah, this is probably the most popularly requested setup that folks ask me is I want to connect the Predator 5000 to my travel trailer with the propane tanks on board. How do I do so? This is how you do it, okay? Like I'm gonna say it again, if you don't see this auto changeover and you have something different, just contact me and we'll figure something else out. But for the majority of the folks that do have that, just select the fuel connection type and you will get adequate parts and the kit itself in order to use the propane tanks off your travel trailer. All right. Okay, moving on from the travel trailer connect, we have there is the 2-tank propane tank connect. So they do look similar here. The only difference between these two is this has an auto changeover and this doesn't. This ties in 2 tanks into 1 manifold, and fuel goes right out to the regulator assembly. Okay. Oh, just a quick note. When you do purchase this kit for the RV Connect, you're not going to get the propane tanks. You're not going to get the auto changeover. You're not going to get the bracket. This is just set up here so you guys can get a visual on how to connect, okay? So all you're going to get is this regulator assembly, spark plugs, and so forth. Like I mentioned previously, you're going to get these additional fittings to connect and tap into the auto changeover, and that's it, right? So everything here, excluding the tanks, the bracket, the auto changeover, whatever, okay? But for here, what you will get is everything seen here, even including the brass dust caps, except for the 2 propane tanks. So you're going to get this manifold here that ties into the 2 propane tanks. Okay, so the difference between this auto changeover and this is that this ties in 2 propane tanks at the same time, whereas the auto changeover draws fuel from 1 tank at a time, and this automatically changes over to the other tank as soon as one empties. Okay, so this is a good setup. I'm not saying it's bad, but why would you pick this over this? If you live in a colder climate, having 2 tanks tied in together like this maintains the performance of the generator a lot more efficiently, meaning that when you have 2 tanks tied in, it maintains pressure. So in a colder climate, excuse me for all the wind, I know it's kind of hard to hear, but when you have the 2 tanks tied in, as fuel is siphoning from these 2 tanks, right? So when it's cold outside, if it's warm, it's fine, but when I'm talking about when it's cold, these propane tanks here, they're filled with liquid propane, up to 80% of the container, right? The rest of the 20% is empty space on top. It allows fuel to evaporate into gas, and as it evaporates into gas, it comes out as gas. Okay, as it gets colder outside, that process is a lot slower. When it slows down, the pressure inside the propane tank drops. Okay, and it drops even further when the generator is siphoning more fuel than it can keep up. Okay, so when you tie in the two tanks, it shares the load of the generator, and thus it's able to keep up with the demand of the generator a lot more efficiently when it's cold outside. All right, so what happens if the propane tanks can't keep up? So what happens is that number one, the pressure drops. When the pressure drops, you may have a little bit of a performance issue, and two, the valve will start to get super cold. Okay, so to prevent having issues when it's cold outside, there's three scenarios. You can run a bigger propane tank. When you have a bigger propane tank, that evaporation process on the inside, because of the larger container, it happens a lot more quickly and it can keep up with the generator. Two would be to tie in the two tanks together like this, so both these tanks can keep up with the generator and prevent the pressure from dropping. Or three, you can buy propane tank heaters. So there's a blanket you can wrap around the propane tank. So there's a propane tank blanket, and that in a cold climate will keep up with the generator. So, and not only that, having the two propane tank connect, not only is just good for this 20-pound tank. If you use a 100-pound tank, so a lot of my customers, they have 100-pound propane tanks. Those 100-pound propane tanks don't have that screw-on type. They have what they call POL type, and that will screw onto the 100-pound tanks. And having those two tied together, your runtime is going to be tremendous. So having to tie in two 100-pound tanks, if you're drawing just 25% load or 50% load, it'll probably last you about a week. All right, so that's another reason why folks like buying these. So this right here is another popular setup with customers request for me to build for them. So yeah, so this right here is great. This is right here is great as well. You can also tie in bigger tanks with it. You don't have to worry about the performance of the generator if you live in a climate that doesn't have any snow, so it's not going to be an issue. But for guys that are in a warmer climate, they buy these because they can tie in their larger tanks. Okay, or if you want, we have something that's a 3-tank propane connect. So it just daisy chains all these tanks together, siphons all the tank at the same time, and you just connect it to this end right here. So this kit is also very flexible. Instead of running 3, you can just remove one hose right here. So you just take this and screw it right into the tank, and you just remove that, and then now you have two propane tanks set up. It's also flexible enough where you just if you only want to run one propane tank, you just take this out, and you take this and you screw it right to the tank, and you only have one setup. If you want to do 3, you just daisy chain them like this, and it's great. So a lot of the southern guys, they like to have this setup. So, and this. Guys for the RVs, you can also do a auto changeover setup if you like. But I have these here because I get a lot of requests of having to tie in 2 propane tanks to double their runtime. And this is actually more important to have this set up if you're having a larger generator. I'm talking like 8,000 watts, 10,000 watts, 12,000 watts. To tie in 2 propane tanks to just keep up with the generator, and especially if it's if temperatures drop at night, the last thing you want is to have performance issues. Like, you can run the heating blanket, or you can tie in another tank and keep up with the demand of the generator. So this right here is great. It's going to be probably a little bit more important if you have a larger generator. Okay, so, but yeah, let's go over again what we have here. So sorry for all the wind. I know it's pretty windy today. If you have a hard time hearing me, I'm trying to speak as loud as I can, and this video is a little unprofessional, but this is just a video showcasing the product. I don't do anything fancy, right? So natural gas, this is what you need here, right? That kit will include a replacement male nipple, okay? And this is what you get with the kit. Whoops. That. This is what I recommend. This is the propane and natural gas connect. Okay, it includes everything. It includes all these extra bits as well, if you like. This is how it's set up right here. Okay. And then third selection would be the RV connect. Okay. This is the connection to RV. Fourth selection would be the 2-tank propane tank connect. It does also include an extra quick connect for if you want to use this on natural gas. So all you gotta do is unhook this, connect it to natural gas, and if you want to go back to propane, just plug this back in here and you're running on propane. Okay, so very flexible. And the third 3-tank propane tank connect, this is a little overkill, but I had people ask me if they can connect 3 propane tanks. So it's, to you guys it might be overkill, but there's some folks that like to have this. So I just give that out there, just throw it out there as an option. Not only that, it also includes the brass dust caps. So when you unscrew this, you really don't want to leave this exposed. You just put that cap onto here and it prevents dust from getting inside. You want to keep it clean. Okay? Alright guys, if there's any comments or questions, please let me know. I'll make another video on how to replace this fitting onto the generator, and I'll get in a little bit more detail, but I'm gonna try to keep this video is already too long. All right, thanks guys.